Right now, somewhere in your city, a parent is walking circles around a dark room at 3 in the morning. Baby in arms, pacing the same 10 feet, back and forth, back and forth. And the strange thing is, it works. The baby goes quiet, heart rate drops, eyes soften. Every parent knows this. What almost no one thinks to ask is why. What is that silence exactly? And why does it only happen when you move? The answer reaches back 300,000 years. It lives inside your child's nervous system, right now, tonight, waiting to fire. And once you understand what it is, what it was actually built for, the 3 a.m. walk will never feel the same. Let's start with the problem your body never solved. A foal can stand within an hour of birth. Not stumble, stand, balance, walk. A chimpanzee newborn grips its mother's fur from the first minute and holds on. It knows, without being taught, exactly what to do. A human newborn can't lift its own head. It can't grip. It can't do anything except breathe, cry, and wait for someone else to save it. Of all the primates on Earth, humans produce the most unfinished offspring by a significant margin. For a long time, scientists called this a weakness. They were wrong. It is a deal. The human brain is so large relative to the pelvis that if it reached the same developmental stage at birth as a chimpanzee's, it would never exit the birth canal. So evolution made an exchange. Human babies arrive with brains at roughly 25% of their adult-sized chimpanzees, come in closer to 40%. That means 3/4 of your brain's construction happens outside the womb, in the open, in the world, while you are completely dependent on others to keep you alive. Anthropologists call this secondary altriciality. You can call it the price of being human. The brain you have required the most helpless infancy on the planet. And for 300,000 years, every single mother who survived labor came out the other side, holding a creature that could not survive one night without her. In a world with leopards, with hyenas, with everything that could smell a newborn from a quarter-mile away, that baby was not just a gift, it was a target. So, how did any of us make it? Here is where the story gets strange. The answer was never in any one person, it was in the group. In 2009, anthropologist Sarah Blaffer-Hrdy published research that reframed everything we thought we understood about human childcare. Her central observation was deceptively simple. Chimpanzees and humans have evolved completely opposite strategies for raising young. A chimpanzee mother carries, nurses, and protects her infant almost entirely alone for up to 5 years. If any other individual reaches toward her baby, she attacks. Her offspring are hers. Her burden is hers. Her risk is hers. Human mothers evolved to do the opposite. Biologists have a term for it: cooperative breeding. The offspring are raised not just by the parents, but by the group. It shows up in about 3% of mammals. Among the FA foragers of the Ituri Forest in the Democratic Republic of Congo, researchers found that a baby passes through an average of 14 different sets of hands in a single 8-hour period. 14! The mother holds her own child about 40% of the time. The other 60%, the aunts, the older siblings, the grandmothers, the neighbours, women who share no blood with the child at all, they carry, soothe, and in some cases, nurse that infant themselves. Among the Aka people of Central Africa, anthropologist Barry Hewlett found that fathers were within arm's reach of their infants more than 47% of the day, not occasionally, as a baseline. The baby was never on the ground. The baby was not touching someone, and there was a hard biological reason for that, one that researchers only confirmed in 2022. When a mother cat picks up a kitten by the scruff, the kitten goes limp, heart rate drops, it stops struggling. This isn't fear, it's a coordinated neurological response that makes the kitten easier to carry and less likely to get its mother killed if a predator is nearby. Researchers suspected something similar ran in human infants. In 2022, neuroscientist Kumi Kuroda at the Riken Center for Brain Science in Japan finally measured it precisely. Infants under 6 months old, when carried by a walking adult, immediately stop crying, decrease voluntary movement, and show a rapid drop in heart rate. Not when held by a sitting adult that doesn't produce the same result. The walking matters. The parasympathetic nervous system engages, the cerebellum processes the motion, and the infant's body, in a program 300,000 years old, concludes, "I am being carried to safety." This is what you're triggering at 3 a.m. when you walk those circles. Not comfort in any soft modern sense. Your child is running a survival protocol. It has assessed the situation and concluded that something worth running from is happening and that you are moving it away from the danger. So it goes quiet. It cooperates. It does not want to get you both killed. That reflex has no idea you live in a building. It has no idea it's 2024. It only knows, I am moving through space, in someone's arms, so I should be silent. What it doesn't know, what it cannot know, is that in the world it was built for, that someone was never alone. In 2022, archaeologists published an analysis of a burial site in Liguria, northwestern Italy. The grave held an infant girl nicknamed Neve, who died at 40 to 50 days old, roughly 10,000 years ago. Surrounding her were more than 70 small shell beads and 4 larger pendants. Under magnification, the beads showed heavy wear patterns, the kind produced by years of regular use before Neve was born. They had belonged to someone else. Their distribution suggested they had been sewn onto wrapped leather, shaped like a carrier, a decorated baby carrier. 10,000 years old, the oldest evidence of its kind in Europe. The carrying itself was not transportation, it was the technology of survival. But carrying kept the baby alive in the short term. Something else entirely kept the species alive across generations, and it came from an unexpected direction. Most animals stop reproducing and then, fairly quickly, die. The logic is brutal and clean. Once you can no longer pass on your genes, the body has served its evolutionary purpose. There is no obvious reason to keep it running. Female chimpanzees follow this pattern almost exactly. They keep breeding into their 40s and rarely survive much past their reproductive years. For a long time, scientists assumed the same was true of ancestral humans. Then Kristen Hawkes, an anthropologist at the University of Utah, started paying close attention to older women in the Hadza, a foraging group in Tanzania. What she found in 1997 didn't fit the model. Postmenopausal Hadza women were among the most productive food gatherers in the entire group. They dug tubers from hard ground in the midday heat. They fed their grandchildren. And because they were feeding those grandchildren, their daughters could wean earlier and become pregnant again sooner. The grandmothers were not at the margins of survival. They were load-bearing infrastructure. Hawkes called it the grandmother hypothesis. Human female longevity, the decades of healthy, productive life after reproductive capacity ends, was selected for precisely because grandmothers who helped raise grandchildren passed on more of their genes than grandmothers who didn't. Menopause is not a failure of the body. It is a reallocation of resources, from producing children to sustaining the ones already here. The mathematical modelling that followed computer simulations run by Hawkes and colleagues showed that if even 1% of a primate population carries a genetic predisposition toward grandmother-style longevity, the entire species gradually shifts toward longer lifespans over tens of thousands of years. 1%. The knock-on effects spread across the whole group. And here is the detail that should stop you cold. Humans are not the only species to have solved the problem this way. Killer whales, belugas, narwhals. These are the only other animals on Earth with menopause, and the reason researchers give is the same one Hawkes proposed for humans. Post-reproductive orca females lead their pods to fish. They protect grandcalves. They carry decades of accumulated knowledge about where food is when food is scarce. Remove the grandmothers, and the whole group struggles. 2 completely different evolutionary lineages. 2 completely different bodies, the same solution, arrived at independently. The grandmother is not a cultural invention. She is a survival technology that evolution built twice. All of this, the 14-person handoff, the walking transport reflex, the grandmother who reallocated her body's purpose, points to a single fact that modern life has made very easy to forget. The human infant was never designed to be kept alive by one person. The system requires multiple people. It always has. And the system is still running inside every infant born today, waiting for the inputs it was built to receive. In 2023, the United States Surgeon General declared loneliness a public health crisis, a condition now understood to carry risks comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. A 2024 survey from Ohio State found that 2/3 of American parents report feeling isolated and lonely because of raising children, not occasionally, as a baseline condition of modern parenthood. The common assumption is that this is a personal problem, a failure of social skills, or of effort, or of the right attitude. The biology suggests something different. What parents are experiencing is the gap between what the species requires and what the current structure of life provides. For the vast majority of human history, the average mother raising a child had somewhere between 5 and 15 people actively involved in that child's care every day. Today, in most industrialized countries, that number is 1 or 2, sometimes 1. You are running a system designed for 15 with a team of 1. The system is not broken, the staffing is. And tonight, when the baby wakes up again when you lift it from the crib in the dark and start walking those same slow circles, the transport reflex will fire, the heart rate will drop, the crying will stop, the baby will go quiet in your arms because it believes, with everything it has, that it is being carried towards safety. It is. You are doing that. It just doesn't know that you've been doing it alone.